agendas and such.
Okay.
And zoom a lot into the document.
Okay.
All right, now I guess since we're up and recording, got the agenda up. I'll call this to order at 7:32. Okay, roll call.
Okay, good morning, members of the board, attendees. Go ahead and call this meeting to order at 7:32 a.m. October 18th. And we'll begin with the roll call. Paige Anthony.
Present.
Rosemary Bright.
She's not gonna be here today.
Carol Clement.
Present.
Cade Hayes. Grace Shao.
Present.
Chris Stevie.
I'm here.
Okay, second item on the agenda, the review and approval of the September 20th, 2024 draft legal action report and meeting minutes.
Can we get a
Can you share
motion?
that one on the screen too,
Oh.
Gabriel?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the previous meeting.
Get a second on that? I'll second that, I guess. Any discussion prior to vote? Hearing none, let's bring that to a voice vote. All in favor, ayes?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, sounds like we approve that. It's our opportunity for a call to the audience. So if there's anyone on this Zoom call right now that is not on the board associated with the city or with any of the applicants that are being discussed today that wants to have a few minutes to address the board, now's your time. Hearing none, let's move on to item 4. Johnny Gibson's expansion. Let's get a little staff update on what we got going on here.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Item number 4, the Johnny Gibson's expansion is the consideration of the applicant's request in submitting their design package to expand the existing Johnny Gibson's downtown market into the adjacent vacant retail space addressed at 200 East Congress, formerly occupied by Crescent Tobacco. The project includes exterior modifications to repair some damaged stucco, provide exterior awnings, and new paint colors. The site's within the Rio Nueva area overlay zone. There's 2 structures dedicated as contributors to the downtown Tucson National Register Historic District. The Tucson-Pima County Historical Commission's Plans Review Subcommittee will also be reviewing the proposal.
So Maria, normally when this has some words around National Historic Register, we usually get an update on where you are in that process or what kind of things are being discussed.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct, Mr. Chair. Members of the DRB, the PRS agendas have been so full. You know, we're looking right now for this project to be reviewed by the PRS until November 14. And the code, the UDC does not say who reviews first, but, you know, that's usually the order that, you know, we have the reviews run through the process. So in order for not to delay anymore this project and others, we're gonna be bringing them to the DRB first before going to the PRS.
Is the applicant present, and would they like to make a presentation?
Sure. Hi, my name is Armand Pena. I'm the architect for these projects. Let me go ahead and share my screen. This project concerns the corner of East Congress Street and 6th Ave. It's 200 East Congress Street for the Crescent Smoke Shop, and then 11 South 6th Ave for the Johnny Gibson's downtown market that's currently existing. This project proposes expanding the Johnny Gibson's market into 200 East Congress Street. In terms of exterior modifications, per Rio Nuevo requirements, we are proposing a 6-foot awning that would be a fabric awning that would extend across both buildings and wrap the corner onto East Congress Street. In terms of elevations, pretty minor. For the most part, it's the proposed fabric canopy, as well as some updated paint colors to harmonize the two buildings. Both buildings are considered representative of international style architecture. And so the colors would still reflect international style. So essentially it'd be another version of white with darker red stripes. And then we are proposing the interior alcoves at the entries black as a way of helping with wayfinding for our patrons. For 200 East Congress Street, there are some security grills over the existing windows, which pop out 6 inches past the building facade. These are the original windows, and the wood that supports them has degraded, as you can see in these photos. So for some of the damaged windows, as well as for the areas with the degraded wood, we're proposing removing the entire window framing, redoing the framing, and then doing updated windows that will still match the same aesthetic. They'll still be the same thickness, color, and even the bent metal profile. It will just be updated glazing to match current energy code. And then just in terms of those colors, these are the colors that we are proposing. So the fabric canopy would be a dark red. That would be very, very similar to the existing speed lines that go across the western facade of the Johnny Gibson's building. We're also proposing updating the existing signage of the Johnny Gibson's building. So on this west facade, it would just be paint only, no new exterior illumination. And then on the corner for 200 East Congress Street, adding a sign that would match. And these are the existing elevations. And I think that's all.
Armand, I'm going to jump kind of to the end of what we normally go. Did you do any shade work, like what the shade coverage?
Yes, yeah, I did.
I thought I saw some on the first sheet of your.
Yeah, sorry, I can reshare that my screen and go back to that. 1 second.
And Armand, leave your screen up in case, you know, there are questions by the DRB that will need you to go through your drawings.
Okay, sure thing. Yeah, so yes, we did a sun angle calculation and shade study there, and we do provide a little over 50% shade coverage with the sidewalk.
So this new awning extends past your property line, is that right?
It does, yeah, because it is a 0 lot line condition.
And could you go into greater detail regarding the awning, how far it comes out? I can't quite read the plans.
Sure thing. Yes, yeah. So it comes out 6 feet. Sorry, in this drawing number 3, it's a little interesting because the sun rays are hitting it at an angle, so it looks longer than it is, but it is a constant 6 feet that would wrap around the corner.
And this is replacing the retractable awnings on the Johnny Gibson's currently?
That's correct. The 200 East Congress does not have any awnings at all.
And the material of the awning, is it cloth? Did I read that right?
That's correct. Yeah, we're proposing sunbrella shade fabric.
And the color?
It is, let me pull up the exact color. It's called black cherry. It's a dark red. It would be this color right here.
I don't see your cursor. Is it the color
Oh,
block?
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's the top right color.
Oh,
shown.
okay.
Looking at the previous photos of the building, it looks like, were you trying to match what they had there before, sort of with this color scheme and the awnings?
That's correct. Yeah. The client would just like to have a darker shade of red than what's currently existing for these speed stripes, and then just to keep a harmonized aesthetic, that's why we're proposing the dark red fabric canopy as well.
And the existing 3 trees that are shown, are those the Virginia live oaks?
I believe they're desert willows, but I'd have to double check that.
Okay. And will they be disturbed at all during this construction?
They will not. And yeah, and that's actually why we stopped the canopy at 6 feet. Not only do we meet the shade requirement, but it's before we start to impact them.
And I'd say just to confirm statements you made in your presentation, the windows on the new, there's no changes actually to the existing Johnny Gibson's market other than the exterior paint and the canopy treatment. On the new expansion building, windows are going to be replaced, but the size, scale, materiality of them is remaining constant. You're just updating, repairing basically the
That's
windows.
correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was clear on that.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
And
to Chris's.
You're not planning on putting back those the security grates or anything. Those are coming off.
That's correct.
That's an improvement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Oh,
Are
I'm
there
sorry.
any
There was one area of the 200 East Congress project that I did want to talk about as well. In drawing 1 of this page, you'll see that there's 2 of the windows that are white. We're just proposing adding a translucent white film there because behind that area of the glass, there's a stair down to a proposed speakeasy in the basement. And so we're just trying to conceal that area. But the rest will remain vision glass.
Do you have a floor plan?
I do. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is 200 East Congress Street. On the right is the main floor. So we have our entry door, and then there will be a green wall essentially along the right-hand side of the building. And built into that green wall will be a hidden door that will go down to the speakeasy, and that's where the stairs go down to. We'll have a platform lift as well for accessibility. In the speakeasy on the left drawing, you'll see it's not a very large space, but it will seat about 25 patrons. And then we have a small storage room as well down below. And then would you like to see 11 South 6th Avenue as well?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So for 11 South 6th Ave, just interior changes mainly. We're proposing a central dining hall with 4 food vendors to the north, so the top of the drawing, and then a high wire bar installation along the west side, so to the right. And at the left side near the entry will be a coffee bar station and cashier checkout.
Could you go back to the Congress Street building, and you mentioned a green wall?
Yes, yeah. So
Could you?
it's essentially on the right side of the drawing, there's a volume, like a set of walls here. It's dashed. The green wall extends basically along that volume from the north to the south of the drawing.
And by a green wall, you mean plants growing on a wall?
Yes, but these would just be purely synthetic. So they will look real, but they won't require any maintenance.
So I'm losing my last minute limes when I don't have limes. Ability to buy them at Johnny Gibson's.
Oh, no, there still will be some market functions. So in Johnny Gibson's along the south area, we will
The cold cases are going to stay.
Dry goods areas too.
Okay, good. As long as I can get last second limes, I'll be all right.
The bodega might have limes.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there'll be some merchandise in there as well.
I'll just have to buy a drink and then take all the lime wedges.
Well, isn't a bodega a market?
Why did it take you so long at the store, Chris? I don't know.
So back to the windows just quickly. I see in the notes that some of them, I think it's keynote 6 says we're replacing single pane window. Are you replacing the entire window system with the energy efficient window? Sorry, go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, at 200 East Congress Street. Sorry, I'm trying to find a good photo of it. I suppose in drawing 6 down in the bottom left corner, you'll see at 200 East Congress, there are existing curved windows that are single pane glass. Those are not broken except for on the left-hand window. That window, though it's curved, is made out of straight panes of glass that approximate a curve. And it has one small section of that is broken that will have to be replaced. But per historic's guidance, they would like us to just maintain those 2 windows and in the current single pane. So all the straight sections will be updated to the double pane glass, but it's going to keep overall the same look.
Cool. And it's at that sort of mill scale aluminum type of Italian,
Yeah, exactly.
or international rather look. Cool.
I know we're kind of bouncing around a little bit. We usually go through a checklist, and this project's a little atypical for some of the things we look at. Is there any proposal for new lighting or any additional lighting now that you're covering? If there's any high lighting on the building, this awning is going to be blocking you. Is there any proposed lighting underneath that awning?
There's not.
Is there any existing lighting? I can't remember what Crescent had.
No, there isn't any new lighting or any existing lighting in that awning area as well. Here, let me zoom in here. In drawing 4 right here, there is this one existing light on the west facade, but that won't be impacted.
And what about any outdoor seating and or bike racks?
Sure. We weren't proposing any new bike racks. In terms of outdoor seating, there is a patio that's shared between 11 South 6th Ave and a couple of other tenants in the courtyard to the east of the property. There will be a connection out to that courtyard, and that's existing at the Johnny Gibson's building.
Right. And no bike racks?
We weren't proposing any new bike racks. I believe that the zoning
there's bike racks existing in front of Johnny Gibson's or directly adjacent to Johnny Gibson's.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
I use them when I go to get my limes.
What happened to the skateboard?
I fell on my skateboard. I no longer ride that. Too old. Knowing the list, the lighting, the lack of lighting is concerning me at this point. That corner, I know it doesn't necessarily need lighting, but it's one of our. There's a lot of ambient light in there, but it's also one of our criterion that we look at, and providing lighting and providing something other than signage lighting to make sure the facades and street activities illuminated is one of our usually one of our items that we look at, and I'm
Yeah,
concerned that the one light you have is higher on the facade than this 6-foot awning, and it's a kind of a tight in gooseneck, but the 6-foot awning sticking out is gonna obscure that. So
yeah,
you're creating kind of a dark zone along that walkway.
sure. Yeah, our understanding was that with the increase, or not the increase, but the amount of glass that we have along the west facade of the building, and it all being vision glass and the interior of the building being illuminated, there would be a lot of spillover lighting onto that sidewalk area.
Are the lights staying on
They
24/7?
are.
Okay. In both spaces.
It's my understanding that they are. I'd have to confirm that with the client, but that's, yeah, what I've been told.
Well, those entry alcoves, if the lights don't stay on, those will be sort of dark little holes.
Right, exactly. And that's why we were talking about illuminating them, just because, yeah, that's ultimately what led to the security grills having to be added, was that building area was dark.
I'm sorry. So there are lighting elements in the entry alcoves outside.
There's not. It's a very shallow alcove. It's only about 4 feet deep. But no, currently there is not at the 200 East Congress building. I believe that there is at 11 South 6th Ave.
Looking at Street View, it does look like there's 2 lights at Johnny Gibson's underneath the existing shade. I think those are lights.
I'm a little concerned about the alcove entry on Congress. No lighting in that alcove area. It's a good place for people to
Oh, those are
hide.
speakers. Those speakers? The dark. I can see there's lights underneath the sign pointing down.
Yeah, good.
Oh, yes, there are underneath the marquee sign at 11 South 6th Ave.
And then to the left and the right, it looks like maybe there's speakers. I thought they were lights, the dark.
Not sure. I have to double check that.
Those look like speakers, Paige. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're definitely not 6x8 high pressure sodium floodlights. Well, I think if we're narrowing in on this, we'll go through our checklist here in a second, but I still think lighting on this new addition with the awning, there's a reason Crescent put barricades up on all their windows when they closed, and especially across that alcove. And per Rio Nuevo, kind of our code, our requirements, what we're looking at, I'm leaning towards putting some sort of condition that you guys look at some sort of lighting underneath that, or underneath the awning, or, it could be as simple as dropping a LED strip light along that awning, or, doing something, something to illuminate that space and the facade of that.
Okay.
So
sure.
when we get to that, we'll have a little more discussion on that, but I'm leaning toward that being something we need to look at.
Yeah, I agree, Chris.
So do we have
Me too.
any other kind of general conditions, comments we want to talk about, or do we want to just start jumping through our list here? I think we'll have more discussion when we jump through that list. I think we'll find something that we weren't talking about. Gabriel, can we get that agenda pulled up that has our 15-point checklist?
Certainly.
So let me go ahead and stop sharing this.
Okay.
Is that large enough?
Mhm.
Oh, Chris, you're muted.
Yeah, I can scoot in even a little more on my screen for my old eyes here. Let's see.
Oh, too much.
That's,
I'm gonna start.
That's good. No, that's good. That was
Oh
good.
God.
We lost it. We lost it.
We went in too
There
far.
we
We were
go.
just looking at.
Yeah, I've got to ask for a new laptop. This one is
No,
not
we're good where
great
you at.
for-
If you can hold, I can read just fine. I'm gonna start clicking through these proposed buildings. Shall respect the scale. This isn't a new building. New construction consistent with prevailing setback. This isn't new construction. All new construction for number 3 provides scale defining architectural elements. And I believe this is even meeting that. The windows are staying the same. The awning, I felt was in pretty good scale with the rest of that building. Especially there's considering there's an existing awning on the. We all good with that one? Architectural elements, details, first floor windows.
Yes.
I don't know what's going on with my. Uh-oh.
There we go. Okay. Whew.
I'm sharing now.
Thank you, Maria.
Mhm.
I think we're on number 4, Maria.
Okay.
We have windows, window displays, visibility. Minimum 50% of the building should provide such features. There's plenty of glass, and we're not changing the glass with the historic facade. I think that we're meeting this percentage. It seems, at least in spirit.
Yeah, and with the historic, I don't think we would want to hold them to this if it causes issues on that side.
Right. And if we're combining both, if we start looking at the aggregate of the existing Johnny's and the new space, they have those big garage door windows that, those take up that facade like 80% glass. I think the glass on this thing's kind of nice. And then be able to see in there without those window guards on there too would be nice. No longer than 50 feet without architectural relief, windows, trellises, arcades. This is existing facade. Building facade design, pedestrian scale, downshielded, glare controlled exterior and window lighting. This is the one that I was referring to. That I think we need to add a condition that you guys explore getting some lighting underneath that awning.
Okay.
Even though you have the commercial lighting from inside, I don't want to be dependent on that lighting being your exterior lighting. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I think that's kind of the intent of this number, this requirement is to not require your interior lighting be the lighting that provides safety or some sort of pedestrian illumination on that spot there. And especially on that corner in the downtown environment, there's a lot of ambient light, but also that it would be nice to have lighting under there. So I don't know how you get that past the historic folks, but that's not my problem. Are we good with that discussion? Should we move on?
Yeah, I agree with your wanting to put a condition in there, Chris.
Okay. Number 7, we got front door of commercial and government buildings to be visible by the street. Highlighted with lighting, marquees, and canopies. I think we're hitting that one in spades, minus the lighting. Modifications exterior of historic buildings should complement overall historic context of the downtown. Respect the architectural integrity of the historic facade. I feel we have that. I don't have any challenges or problems with adding the awning and doing a facelift with the paint in this area. There's plenty of awnings along 6th Avenue, especially south of this building. Any discussion on that topic? Good. 9, Building shall be designed to, well, we're not adding a new building. Adjacent buildings to public rights of way, reflecting heat and glare. The awning's going to help with that. Parking, we don't have any parking. There are bike locks or bike racks available adjacent to this building. Adequate shade provided for sidewalks and pedestrian paths. I believe we meet that. We have the shade in the next section there, but adding the awning is going to shade at least half that sidewalk, and there's a couple existing trees, right?
That is correct.
Color palette,
I'm good with it.
Grace, you good with that color palette?
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty good. Paige?
I dig it.
New buildings, we're not doing anything new, but this is definitely relating to traditional context of the downtown. 24 hours street level activity is encouraged. Mixture of retail, office, and residential. Looks like you're mixing it up with the new interior spaces, so you guys are going to activate that space well more than just Johnny's was, and Crescent was closed at 5 o'clock every day, so we're hitting all those spots. List number 2.
You know, I just had a thought there. That awning is very nice, and it seems like it would be a nice perhaps an opportunity to put some just simple outdoor benches along the building underneath the awning, right up against the building, just to give people a place to sit outside. I don't know. It just seems like perhaps a missed opportunity there.
So for Johnny Gibson, the Johnny Gibson's building, we are proposing 2 bar seating areas along the interior of those garage doors, so that during the daytime those garage doors can lift up. You can sit there. So we wouldn't really have space in front of Johnny Gibson's. For 200 East Congress, we could. I guess our only concern would be about increasing the potential for people to kind of hang out under there at night.
Yeah.
Movable, flexible seating might be something you guys could look at down the road.
That's true.
If it popularity
Yeah.
proves it useful.
Sure.
Activate the street even more.
Could be a pretty good attractive nuisance considering that street corner. But yeah, and Carol, there is also plenty. There's a big outdoor patio on the other side in the interior space of this, like if you go in around the alley, there's that really big patio space, shared use patio space in the back. So there's a lot of outdoor seating opportunity, but not right on the street. I see what you're saying about activating, kind of getting people activated on 6th and.
Yeah, just to people watch.
Yeah.
But the providing a space for someone to sleep on at night, I understand the issue.
But Ahmad, you said that those 2 garage doors on Johnny's are going to lift up, and you're going to have the interior bar seating there.
That's correct.
Oh, that's sweet. That'd be a nice spot.
Yeah, that's good.
And it's securable, so that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of best of both worlds there, Carol.
Yep.
Maria, do we have our second list? There we go.
have 15. Yeah, here we go.
15. Entries shall be directly accessed from a sidewalk, not a parking lot. There is no parking lot, so
yeah, this is.
I think we're hitting that one. I'm going to move into the next ones. We could probably vehicle circulation and number 2 and parking. Those are really non-starts. Plazas and open space. I mean, there is a pretty good sized plaza in the back.
Is it 5%?
It's pretty large. I would say it's bigger than the building itself.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar.
It's a shared use one, so it's got high whatever. What do they call it? Hi-fi,
Yeah.
and then
High wire right there. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the other.
Let's see. Oh, okay.
So that whole dark gray area there, Carol, is outdoor patio space.
It's not public space though. I think that this
Right.
comment mostly applies to new construction, but I don't know that we could call this courtyard public space.
New construction, yeah. We can't, because it's
I mean,
not
it's not-
public.
It's not totally private either. Like I can walk, there's no restricted access to that. I could walk in there and sit down. I'd be encouraged to purchase something because otherwise I'd be loitering. But
Yeah, but is this considered new construction or is it just renovation? So do we have to worry about this?
it's not really new construction.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, the permits we applied for were just commercial tenant improvements.
Commercial tenant improvements is what you said?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
renovations, usually.
I do think there should be more bike racks. Because looking at I don't see anything in the list, but there's only one bike rack to accommodate 2 bikes. That's not even in front of Johnny Gibson's.
Yeah, there's one right there next to it. And then there's 2 more down. There's like 3 in a row or 2 in a row on that. In that
Farther
group
south.
page, it might be blocked by that van, but there's one there, and then the backflow preventer, and then I think there's another one right behind that gray car there. There's a whole row of them all in front of what used to be the drawing studio.
Oh, okay.
They aren't directly in front of Johnny's, no.
Also, I think you can get free ones through the city. Or at least that was a thing. That are just like that.
And I don't believe there's any right on Congress.
I'm just thinking about you, Chris. You know, I want you to be able to like bike up right in front where there's lighting and it's safe. Hit your lines.
I'm okay with managing the extra 8 feet.
Okay.
But now that Starbucks is in there, this neighborhood's really going to be coming up.
It's not.
I do agree with Paige that we could always have more bike racks.
We could always have more bike racks. But I guess if permitting and code's not requiring to put in more bike racks, we could I would be up to adding that as a, you know, if someone feels strongly about adding another bike rack or 2 in there, we could always use more bike racks in that area.
I would recommend it in front of the Johnny Gibson entrance. Or north of the entrance.
You'd probably have to convince Dave Marhefka to let you put it in. That would be
That's the tricky part, yeah.
Be technically in the right of way. I'll twist his arm. Are we okay with pedestrian nodes and plaza spaces?
Yeah.
View sheds. There's definitely a view of a historic building. And we're maintaining all the neighborhood linkages. There's no impediment to the sidewalk happening. So I think view shed corridors are being maintained, other than it being an awning. I think we're pretty good there. Streetscape, my opinion is that adding that awning is going to enhance that streetscape a little bit by shading that that wall and that sidewalk, and then we move into shade. Well, and creating some consistency around that corner, I think too, that we're kind of adding a little less visual clutter by having a consistent awning along that building. I think that's going to add to the streetscape visually. And you provided us a shade study. I believe it said you had a little over 50%.
That's correct. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was.
Which I think might be even more if you actually did it at the right time and then included the building height, because it looks like in your upper right drawing, you only calculated the awning, but the building goes up a little higher than the awning.
That's correct. Yeah.
So you might have a little more, another % or two. I think that's the last of our list. So we ended up with lighting and potentially if there's opportunity to add a bike rack or two.
Yep.
Any other reminders? Anything else we have?
Looks good.
So,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, members of the DRB, I'm gonna ask Armand to resubmit his design package to include the floor plans that he showed you today. It seems like they were not included, Armand, in the design package, unless I'm missing them.
No, I don't believe they were.
Yeah, so if you could please include them, that
Okay.
would
Yeah,
be helpful.
That was kind of important information that we weren't getting about
Sure.
why this modifications are happening or what's kind of going on with that space. So
Yeah.
kind of changes the tone of what you were doing in that space.
And also, Armand, unless I'm missing it here too, if you could provide information regarding the film on the windows
Yes, it should
that
be
you were
included
talking about.
Yeah, all the manufacturer information should be included. It's in that white square. The text is
Yeah.
Here, okay. I thought those were colors, but I see. Okay.
Yeah, it's a 3M product, and that's the specification for it.
Okay, thank you. So just the floor plans then, and when you resubmit, shoot us, Gabriel and I, an email.
Okay, sure thing.
Thank you.
So are we ready for a motion here? Are there any other discussions we need?
Oh, there's no motion here today, Mr. Chair.
Uh-oh.
Apologies.
Whoa. What are we gonna do?
Up to you,
Yeah.
Armand. We're gonna have to freestyle the motion.
I have an idea for that. I'm going to
Go to last month's.
no, I was gonna open like a Google Doc. If we got to freestyle it, I'll just copy last month so we can modify it, and then we can just read the entire motion in the meeting. Let's see, I don't have the wire up yet. The whole computer just crashed, so apologies for that. Okay. Is the intent to recommend for director approval?
With the condition of
believe
lighting
so.
and more bike racks.
Okay.
Here we go.
All right. So if you'd like to read the condition proposed, I can go ahead and transcribe it onto this document.
Well, we probably need to actually verbally do the whole
Number
Um,
thing.
Yeah. Who wants to read this? You guys want me to take it on? I'll do it. I guess the motion's made by Chris, and the design review board recommends the PDSD director approval with conditions finding the project in compliance with the design standards in UDC sections 5.12.7.c 1 through 15 and 5.12.7.d. Following conditions, that the applicant provide shielded downward directed pedestrian lighting under proposed awning per Rio Nuevo requirements.
Do we want to call it nighttime safety lighting or something like that, Chris? Something to give a certain requirement for lumens?
I don't know if that's, I think it's the
Okay.
downward pedestrian lighting under there. It's, I guess in my opinion, that infers evening use and
nighttime safety.
Yeah. I guess proposed under the proposed awning per the Rio Nuevo requirements kind of fills in some of the blanks in my opinion.
Okay.
And condition 2, that the applicant explore additional bike racks or providing additional bike racks at the subject property, which is the what's the address? 210.
It's 200.
It was on.
Congress.
I think we were talking about 6th Avenue for the bike racks, Chris.
Right. There's providing additional bike racks. 200 East Congress on the 6th Avenue side. Any additional? Any comments, amendments?
I'll second the motion.
Was that Grace? I'm sorry, I was looking at the other screen.
I'm sorry, it was Carol.
Carol. Oh, this is a transcript. Yep.
Bring to a voice vote. Ayes? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none. Sounds like you got it.
Thank you very much for your time.
How many is that? 5 ayes? 4 ayes.
Unanimous.
4.
1, 2, 3.
It is 4, Mr. Chair.
Hey Armand, since I think we're done with what's the timeline on that improvements?
The 200 East Congress, we're just waiting for the permit to come. Well, we're actually waiting for the permit to come through for both. It's been submitted. 200 East Congress will probably start, we're hoping, the beginning of the new year. And then by May, hopefully 11 South 6th Ave will also be under construction.
Awesome.
Thank you, Armand.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Another grocery store come and gone in the downtown area.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Okay. Shall we move to the next agenda item?
Yes, please.
Item 5 in today's agenda is considering the TEP substation expansion at 1230 North Algernon Way. It's at the corner of Algernon Way and Maple Street. This is a courtesy design review board review prior to a special exception request. The expansion will be heard before the zoning examiner at a date to be determined. No formal action will be taken today on this matter. The applicant is requesting to upgrade and expand an existing 46 kilovolt substation. The expansion will encompass the parcel immediately adjacent to the east of the existing site, and combining them into one larger site. Just one larger site. And I will pull up their materials. Chris Ortiz Pino, do you have any materials that you'd like to share? Or do you have a presentation you'd like to make?
Yeah, I have a quick presentation. Kind of goes over what are in the materials. I can share my screen if you'd like.
Sure.
All right. Excellent. Well, good morning. My name is Chris Ortiz Pino. I work with Tucson Electric Power as an environmental and land use planner. And as Gabriel just introduced the project, it's a expansion to the North Alvernon 46 kilovolt substation. I'll be going over the conceptual site plan rendering, existing conditions, our preliminary landscape plan, and visual simulations for your input. So this is our rendering of the site once it's completed in 3 phases. As you can see, it's at this section. Can you see my cursor? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So
Yes, actually, yes.
can't see it too well, but this line here is the demarcation of the adjacent vacant parcel existing. This gives you a better view of it here. So the project will be in 3 phases. Phase 1 will be to construct a new wall matching existing, enclosing this vacant parcel. That will be a special exception request to bring the wall to the 0 lot line adjacent to the neighboring parcels. Additionally to phase 1 will be to remove the existing east wall of the substation, opening up the entire space interior. At that point, we will also be doing the civil grading work that you see here, which is to install a drainage channel to take in off-site flows, convey them through and outside to the north, which follows the existing drainage patterns on the site, but it will convey them away from the electrical equipment and out of the site, metered through a stormwater detention basin. Phase 2 will be to construct the actual substation here on this vacant parcel. There'll be a 46 kilovolt breaker transformer, and it'll transform it to 13. And then all of the feeder work will come out of the substation underground to rise up overhead down east on East Maple. Once this substation is completed and energized, phase 2 will be complete. And phase 3 will begin to demolish and remove the existing 1970s era substation and to rebuild a new one to match this other one on the other side. So there will be 2 46 to 13.2 kilovolt substations on this site here. Some changes from the materials you saw earlier. These are poles that bring the electricity in. In our current site plan, those have been brought inside the walls. And so right now the 46 kV runs underground and will rise up at this center pole, be transferred to these poles in front of each substation, which will drop into the substation itself. All the feeder work will then leave the substation underground to rise up east on East Maple. We are proposing landscaping in the 10 feet of existing landscape property outside of the walls on the north. On the west side, there is a varying width property outside of the right-of-way on this side. I think it varies from about 10 feet down to as narrow as 4 feet at the south end of the parcel. The existing conditions of the site itself, there's no landscaping except for some existing bougainvillea that was, I assume, planted at one time, but is left in its existing condition just on its own right now. It's not currently being watered, they just survive. The wall itself is a cinder masonry wall with a brick veneer. This is broken up by these concrete pillars in between. As we expand to the east, we propose to match this existing brick veneer wall. And so this is from East Mabel, the northeast corner of Mabel and Alvernon, looking southeast. This is from the west side of Alvernon, looking due east. You can see these are all the existing bougainvillea on there. It's from the right-of-way, looking east towards the future expansion area. And this, where we are sitting underneath this pole here, this is right-of-way. The 10 feet to the south or to the right in this image will be the future landscape buffered area. This is looking south down Alvernon. See a pawn shop down there. Doesn't look great. Moving on to our proposed landscape plan. I'm going to zoom in here. I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but I have a hard time seeing it. You can see the plant legend here. We are proposing Texas olive as our largest shrub. We have a security requirement that does not allow us to plant trees in the area, primarily because we want to avoid any ability for people to climb into the substation. So we are proposing the Texas olive as our largest shrub. It'll be planted throughout. We have ocotillo, saguaro, agave, yucca, hotbush, fairy dusters, Texas rangers, candelia, and desert milkweed planted throughout. And then as you can see in this area here is our storm detention basin that will accept flows from the site, from off-site to the south, through the site, and then it'll be metered out through this detention basin and eventually off into the street, which is how current drainage patterns flow through the site now. All right, getting into our photo simulations. This is looking at the site from the northeast to the southwest. At the proposed condition here, you can see we have a second entrance into the substation, a driveway, and landscaping in that right-of-way. The proposed wall will come to the zero lot line of this neighboring parcel. And we have the 3 riser structures and the galvanized steel bus and switchgear facilities. These are the only facilities that will rise above the walls at this point. Other equipment within the walls is technically taller than the 12-foot wall that's proposed. However, from this vantage point, you wouldn't be able to see above it. This is from the northwest corner of Alvernon and Mabel, looking to the southeast. Again, we're proposing the same wall condition and additional landscaping on the west and north sides of the property. And that's what I have for you all. I'm happy to answer any questions and happy to hear your input, as this is all preliminary.
Thanks for that. Oh, my answer right here on this page. I was going to ask you, what's the height of that wall? It's 12 foot, right?
Correct. Yes, sir.
It was right there in front of me when I said that.
It is a little
Okay.
bit small, so.
No, that's a really big wall. Sorry.
Yeah, that is a really.
Well, the lettering is. That's what I meant.
I know you. I know you. I couldn't resist. I'm open up to the board here if we have any comments, and I have a feeling we will. So, Carol, looks like you're first hot on the button there.
Yeah, I have concerns about the shaded sidewalk. The sidewalk will not be shaded. And I find the reason of not planting trees because they're afraid people will use the trees to climb into the interior, not that convincing. I would not accept this project. I would not approve this project without shaded sidewalks.
Yeah, Christopher, can you expand on that a little bit about the safety? Is that we've done several of these substations in the past, and I haven't heard that before. Is that a new TEP thing, or where they think a 12-foot masonry wall, someone's gonna climb up a desert willow?
Tree to jump over and then jump down 12 feet? It's ridiculous.
I mean, I could see it in a theoretical, but is that something new? We haven't heard that requirement before. Can you?
So yes, the difference is the proximity to the walls itself. The small area that we have to work with in our private property outside of right of way, that is the concern here. So there's kind of twofold reasons where there's security reasons, and then there's if trees grow too tall into the distribution, existing distribution that's along north or east Naval right there, that becomes a maintenance issue, and so we avoid that. With respect to the trees, we do have trees in other substations, but they are much larger substations. They're further away from the energized equipment. And yes, the physical security at Tucson Electric Power does not want trees near the wall. So I'm kind of just working within the purview of the security standards and what we have, the land of space we available we have.
Okay, I hear that. There's typically, under TEP power, there's tree restrictions typically. So I was kind of expecting that to be the reason why there's not large trees, but the safety one was a new. Which I guess segues into what my comment would be is, why are you limiting to just a private property space there? I would
Right.
hope and encourage TEP as being a quasi-public entity to be doing above and beyond code minimum 10 foot to the property line and expanding the landscape to betterment of this community and of this area to the curb. It's not a hard requirement to get approved, and or providing, is there an existing sidewalk along Helen?
Mabel?
There's not an
Maven.
an existing sidewalk along Mabel. There is
Right.
an ADA curb and kind of
There's
corner
a sidewalk
sidewalk
along Alvernon, right?
and Alvernon, correct, but does not extend east.
Right. So that's kind of where my comment set would be, is I would be expecting TEP as being a good neighbor and coming into a community and expanding this station, that they would do as much as they could to improve the public condition within this space as much as they could, including sidewalks and additional landscaping all the way to the street.
Right.
I don't think that's a huge ask on a project in this urban of an area.
Could we go back to the landscape plan along
Absolutely.
Alvernon? There's, okay.
Sorry.
Let's go back to the rendered one. The
Okay.
simulation, please. Thank you. Okay. Can you zoom into that? Yes, thank you. Okay, so taking Chris's idea of expanding it to the curb, you could then you would have room to plant trees closer to the curb, whatever that offset is, and reconfigure the sidewalk to meander through the landscape area. There's plenty of room to do that. There's 10 feet plus another, 6-8 feet, just eyeballing it. So it's, 16, 18, maybe even 20 feet from wall to back of curb. There's plenty of room to provide shaded sidewalks in that area. And then also another comment I have, your basin to the north, where the water comes out of the site into that basin. Why isn't that basin made to extend along the entire length of the planting area, or a good percentage of it? It's just a little dinky one right now.
Yeah, I think that was created by the hydrologists and so it was basically based on existing hydrologic flows and on off-site flows onto the site and metering it out, there's not a whole lot of flow, so they didn't need a very large one. So it's just there's just not the flows created on site to necessitate a much bigger one.
Okay, well, in addition to that, I would like to suggest that you basins be added as per the passive stormwater harvesting manual that connect to that basin.
Can you explain that a little bit further? So,
Chris, I would assume this is going to fall under like a commercial development under permitting with the city.
this is a special exception land use permit, so the addition is actually on the R2 zone. There's no changes to zonings, yeah.
The permitting requirements, Chair, will be based on commercial submittal standards,
Right.
So development package.
So I'd assume, Carol, your push for more water harvesting could get caught by that process because they would be required to meet the water harvesting unless there's exemptions getting them out of having to meet basic city code. So I think Christopher, where the point Carol's making is that you may be required to provide water harvesting on this site in general, bigger than just that hydrology requirement that you have, or hydrology basin you have currently. The city may push you to your landscape architect to expand that water harvesting to the entire landscape area.
Okay.
And if not, I would want to see that just as kind of the point I was making about being a good gesture to the general community.
Right, okay. Absolutely.
So please excuse my ignorance to the point here, but so the additional stormwater basins, just as a beautification perspective, or I mean, if there's no flows coming on and off, what are those extra stormwater harvesting basins doing?
They capture and retain the water falling from the sky. It's part of sustainability and resiliency development.
Understood.
And Christopher, if you're being brought through the city process, and if it's deemed they're holding you to this, there's a requirement that this site will need to capture rainwater in a quantity equal to 50% of the irrigation water use within 3 years. So you're going to have to reduce your irrigation water use in 3 years, at 3 years by 50%. And you're going to need to show that this site captures that water through natural rainfall or runoff.
Mr. Applicant, it sounds like you need to look at the, what is it called?
Yeah.
Passive stormwater harvesting manual by the city of Tucson. I would suggest you take a good study of that.
Or your landscape architect on staff on your team will need to kind of look at that. I know you're kind of still at concept level, so. But that's going to come your way. I guarantee it.
Yeah. And the shaded sidewalk.
I like the shaded sidewalk idea, Carol. I think that's something where I was heading to with the being a good community steward, especially along this east-west street.
That I just want to again insert that we will do what we're able to do. I mean, we're happy. I think we've gone above and beyond with like the landscape densities. When it comes to trees, that's kind of out of my hands, and physical security will likely push back. I'm happy to bring that to them, and we'll see if we can come to a compromise solution on the landscaping.
Well, to let you know, here in Tucson, we are more concerned with shade than plant density. Our trees are more important to us than the understory because of the urban heat island effect.
I understand that.
Okay, so the density, we could possibly waive density in lieu of shaded sidewalks.
Again, it's the trees is not something that's exactly in my control. That is it is a safety issue with high voltage equipment.
But what we're suggesting is that those trees you landscape to the curb, back of curb, and that will get your trees away from the the wall and your concerns.
We will absolutely look at the clearances and see if it's possible.
Yeah,
Is
that's something to
that-
explore. If we could get a little help in that, that's obviously a concern.
Is that
Paige,
pole on
Paige, were you
Mabel?
bringing something? Go ahead.
Yeah, is that pole on Mabel that we're seeing in the screen right now, is that remaining?
Yes, that would remain. That is an existing pole, and that would remain.
Okay. I guess just, is the safety because of reaching into the substation, or is it the safety of people climbing and getting in?
It's
Or
both.
both? Okay, because
So
we have thorny trees that help prevent people. It's like barbed wire.
Yeah.
So that is the thing that can mitigate the people aspect, as well as just not having the structural support for a human to climb. And then I also, the Cordia Boissieri, those can get tall. Like I mean, I know
Yeah,
they're a large shrub / small tree, but
they're not
I
going to
don't,
provide the shade.
I also I don't think they prevent people from using them as leverage into, well, I don't know why people want to climb in there, but
Yeah.
they also have a lot of litter potentially, but if you're worried about maintenance and trees.
So Chris, I
think
think sorry, Grace, go ahead.
You're good. Oh, I was just gonna say, Paige, I think the rendering here is making it seem like that pole is a lot closer to the existing wall there. I think it's actually farther out to the street. It's just being kind of photoshopped over by the driveway.
Mm.
Yeah,
that
Oh, I
is
was talking
true.
about the
This-
other one that's further to the left. That guy, yeah.
This one is
And how,
definitely more indicative of where it is in the right of way. This definitely looks weird.
okay. Yeah.
So I think to summarize this point of topic, I think our concerns are that you could do a little more landscape just for a community improvement aspect of it. Your security and under TEP lines, that tree component, I think you could revisit that if you decide to, or get approval to kind of push the landscaping a little farther out. But I'm not sure why. I think you might be required to add a sidewalk in front on that north facade if it's a code. I mean, bringing something up to codes required sidewalks. So I think you may end up having to add a sidewalk there, and I'd strongly encourage that
You
TEP
mean
invest in the community
along Mabel? Because there's
along Mabel.
Yeah, so Mabel and possibly reconfigure the sidewalk along Alvernon.
Yeah. Yeah, if that's something they
Yeah,
want to spend money on, but there's already a pedestrian facility along Alvernon, take it or leave it as how good it is. But I would encourage those two things, and that the comment Carol made about trees versus understory with your safety concerns, that might actually, if you really want to break that down, trees versus this density of understory may actually be a safer environment for your facility, considering this density of plant material along the wall creates spaces where people could congregate and or hide or create an unsafe environment for employees and or the public in this area. So you're creating by trying to avoid a safety concern, you're creating a safety concern. So that might be something to have your team reevaluate and look at. And with potential to bring landscaping out further, it could, it lessens that density and creates a little more environment for that space.
Yeah.
And members of the board, so the city of Tucson does encourage right-of-way plantings, and it's a right-of-way permit to
Right. It's not
do
a
this
hard
in that
permit to
area.
get.
Right. I
And
mean,
we've I've received my first public input on this project this morning. a nearby resident asking for consideration of a mural instead of the blank brick on the wall. And also just wanted to suggest that maybe the street to stormwater to shade, like the street side curb cuts and basins that you might see on like treat, something like that could facilitate those trees further from the wall itself.
Right. So
I would like
that falls all into that. Go ahead, Carol. Sorry.
I would just like to point out that that skinny little 3-foot strip between edge of sidewalk to back of curb is no man's land. It is, if you decide, and I hope you do, to reconfigure the sidewalk, get rid of that 3-foot strip of no man's land because very few things grow in it.
Could you clarify which no man land strip you're talking about?
The outside edge of the sidewalk to back of curb.
Oh, gotcha.
Sometimes that's only 18 inches. It's meander the sidewalk through the, so that looks about 3 feet.
Maybe 2 feet, 3 feet.
Maybe
somewhere in
2
there.
feet, yeah.
3 feet.
That may not even be ADA compliant, the existing sidewalk.
Oh, really? Why do you say that?
I mean, it just looks very small.
Looks like it's 3 feet.
It looks like
It's likely a
it's 3 feet.
4. Older Tucson 4 foot, and now Tucson code is 5 foot.
Oh, well, there we go.
And just looking at some blue stake marks, it does look like there might be water running through that area.
Well, so you plant your trees offset the distance required. What is it, a 10-foot offset from water lines?
Wow.
Yeah, utilities are going to be your problem here with I thought I saw on your graphics, there were some utility lines coming out. But I think the basic line, we're not going to design out a solution, but I think the basic tenet of what we're saying is we'd like to see some additional thought and additional exploration into expanding landscape and pedestrian facilities and the interaction with your community face in this space. So the mural idea from a community member is, that's valid in this location. I know you probably don't want to do that from maybe some safety or maintenance concerns on your wall, but that's something you probably need to look at, your community interaction. And if we move on a little bit from landscape, I have one more topic of conversation I'd like to bring to this group and community interaction, and that's how the wall is handled along that residential property on the east edge. You're calling it 0 lot line, but the height of this wall is 12 feet. The footer of that's going to be gigantic. Are you asking this property owner for an easement to drop a footer into their property, or are you backing this wall off? Like, it seems like you're adding a 12-foot wall against a 0 lot property line. Like, so how's that working? And
Mr. Chair, that's a City of Tucson owned affordable housing unit, and TEP has been in discussion with housing and community development as far as the technical specifications of that wall, and HCD has indicated that they're happy with TEP's at least the placement and size of the wall right there.
Yeah.
Is that going to have to get some sort of setback variance? I mean, I think typically our wall height, it would be 6 feet and then partially open above that up to 10. We're all the way to 12 here.
So the typically a wall height over the allowed 6 feet on a boundary would have to be set back based on the setback requirements for the underlying zone. Since this is going for a special exception, we are able to reduce that setback and allow the additional height through the zoning examiner special exception process, especially considering the nature of the equipment inside the facility.
Is there a set distance requirement between the equipment inside and a wall? What is that by TEP? What is that distance?
Yeah, internal clearances.
Thank you.
That's right. You can zoom into it here. Internal clearances, we need to maintain, let's see, do I have it on here? It doesn't show it specifically.
Yeah,
Say
Um,
12-foot clear.
I see 12-foot clearance upper left.
up north, right? So
Right.
that's this clearance here. There's 12 feet there. I believe we want to keep 20 feet east-west on this side, as well as on this side. There's a
Or
20-foot clearance between energized equipment and the wall itself. And that's
and
mostly to provide circulation. So it'll be a
okay.
one-way inside. Vehicles will come in one, roundabout the other, and come out. So there's no turnaround space with inside the walls.
So looking at this graphic, when we build that 12-foot wall, we're gonna tear out those trees on the adjacent property.
Correct.
That's a
Ugh.
shame.
And I have
Yeah.
been in conversations with housing community development specifically to that matter, understanding, exactly your sentiment, Carol. So right now, those trees represent a maintenance cost for housing community development for their affordable housing. And so by removing them and putting in a wall in its place, they've removed the maintenance costs to the housing department, as well as maintain the shade provided by those trees. So it's, in their opinion, from managing affordable housing, it's kind of I don't want to say win-win, but it's at least neutral.
Yeah, but
I
what
do have
about the environment and what trees do for our climate? What about that loss? How do you offset that?
We do have, we did offer housing community development to mitigate that tree loss for plantings elsewhere. They have not got back to me about where or what they would be interested in and how and where they would want that. Again, it's their maintenance cost, I think, is one of the
Yeah, I
considerable
can
concerns.
understand that.
While
I'm
we're looking at
concerned
the relationship here, can you speak at all to the outdoor lighting? I think that's specifically in our purview.
Absolutely. So there will be outdoor lighting within the walls. We'll go back up to, sorry, make people dizzy here. There will be outdoor lighting within the substation, but it is only, it will not be on 24/7. It'll only be on and shining inside the facilities when there's nighttime maintenance or emergencies require it.
Are those shielded from the residences?
Um,
Or
I
what's the
will
height?
ask.
And do
Yeah,
they adhere
I
to
don't have
dark
a
sky?
I will have to follow up on that. But I am guessing that they, not being 24-hour lights, when emergency presents itself, they would likely probably not be dark sky compliant because of the nature of needing to address emergency conditions within the substation. But they would not be 24 hours. They would not be shining all night, every night, just only during when they're needed.
Even so, does anyone know if they would have to adhere to our dark sky ordinances? I think they would, right? Any
I
lighting
believe for
does.
emergency lighting, that wouldn't be required.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This is, bigger issue at that point, and they wouldn't be remaining on a regular basis.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Gabriel.
So Christopher, to clarify that, there's no exterior wall mounted downlight, security lighting at all around the perimeter?
That's correct.
Okay. So that exterior lighting and security lighting is dependent on City of Tucson provided, just ambient street lighting.
Yeah, which honestly, I do not believe they have any ambient street lighting on Mabel. I could be incorrect.
Oh,
Correct. Yeah.
No,
maybe
you're
Alvernon-
correct.
Alvernon
There's one on Alvernon at the north corner of the substation wall, but yeah, nothing on Mabel.
Okay.
Nothing on Mabel down the street either. So that would be consistent with the rest of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So on that point, Chris, Christopher, that kind of circles back to my point about, the density of lower landscape material in this area, especially along Mabel, there is now creating a nuisance condition or potential nuisance condition. So I'd say your landscaping and the security and lighting and or security and that topic within your landscaping, I think you need to bring that back to risk and find out what hill they're going to die on, with no trees or too many shrubs. Which one do you want? Since we're still talking about the wall, how does the wall work on the southeast portion there that butts up against that commercial property to the south? What's the communication with that? I think it's a pawn shop or something, right?
Ooh, I don't have that source photo on here.
Plan
so
view,
actually,
plan
you,
view
you
would
can,
probably work.
yeah, you can see the existing condition. There's a gap between the pawn shop and the south wall here.
Yeah, it's just fenced off.
It's just fenced off, and if you were to go onto that, I have a different photo. There's just a bunch of junk piled in that space. I assume to prevent people from getting in there further, because
Right.
that is a nuisance condition. And so to that point, that's one of the reasons why, beyond safety clearances and critical clearances from electrified equipment, any setbacks on the east side away from the home would create a very long and narrow corridor that would offer that exact same situation. So it would actually, it's actually a less of a nuisance to have it at the 0 lot line.
I was really specifically looking at how that behind that adjacent commercial building, like in the bottom right corner of this graph,
Yeah.
like how that what kind of you're creating a little bit of a gap there along that property edge, or are you just going to let that commercial property absorb the setback? Because it used to be a blank property now that probably had an offset chain link or something, right?
So currently, the proposed condition would be to extend the wall in its current alignment along that property boundary to the east. And so yeah, that would remain. And so that is a vacant parcel right now. I believe there's
it's not associated with that commercial property.
I think it's actually zoned to parking, and it's associated with I think there's a Quick Mart just to the south of it. Correct.
So I guess de facto, you'd probably just put another fence between that building and your new wall to close off that corridor, and put in some cold patch asphalt or whatever to go against the wall there to clean up that condition.
Yes, we would be cleaning up that condition. I actually have some source photos. If you give me a moment to try to find them, we can look at it more clearly together.
And while you're doing that, just as an update, I'm going to be jumping off this call in about a minute or two here for a other scheduled meeting. So someone else is going to have to take over the adjournment vote or adjournment or leading this discussion.
Oops. So this is the current condition here.
Awesome.
And so we would
looks nice.
Yeah, so we would be extending this wall around. There's already an existing barrier between those two walls. And yeah, this would obviously get cleaned up, and that wall would clean this area up considerably.
Yeah. But like
you might want to improve that barrier in the easement. I guess that's here? Their easement. Yeah, that red board that looks like...
inside this no man's land. Yeah.
It's odd that they allow that to happen, but they won't put a tree near the walls.
I mean, you have a chain link with barbed wire.
Yeah, look at that.
Oh my God.
Like, why wouldn't you just do this same? Oh, it is chain link with barbed wire.
It is. Yeah, there's barbed wire here, and then barbed wire on top as well.
Looks like that board might be covering that barbed wire or razor wire. Anyway.
Yeah.
Are you going to continue the wire on top of the wall as you extend it along that what's now chain link?
So that will be removed, and what will be installed in place is called ultra barrier. I don't have a graphic readily available, but it is essentially metal spikes that go on top. It is not nearly as visible as this, but it does prevent the climbing.
Yeah, I can.
And-
I have it up on my screen, and I can share an image of that.
Thank you.
It's
Yeah.
Oof.
Ouch.
Nice.
yeah, looks effective. Doesn't look as
Stainless steel. Huh.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's climbing over there.
No.
If they do,
Yeah,
they'll
so
only do it
your whole
once.
argument about no trees goes out the window because that will be on top of all walls, correct, Mr. Applicant?
That is correct.
Okay.
But
Except for
they,
Spider-Man or.
I will reiterate that, part of safety of the grid and keeping all the facilities secure is having redundancies to security.
Well,
Well, with that, folks, I'm gonna have to jump off and go to my other meeting. Thanks for this discussion. Christopher, I think you got some pretty good feedback here. You guys can continue discussing if you wish. But I need to jump off. Thank you everyone for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Well, this is a courtesy review. So I'm not sure what we
think we
need to
just-
provide.
so. Yeah, there's no need for a motion. The courtesy view is part of the special exception process for this project. Yeah, I'll be reviewing the meeting and the transcript in the future and incorporating some of the feedback into my staff report to the zoning examiner. And it still will require, the neighborhood meeting and a public input phase as part of the project. And
so
Does
you
it
all
come
are aware
back for a full review?
It does
And,
not.
Okay.
Ms.
it-
Anthony, members of the DRB, so we will be preparing the legal action report and we'll be sharing it with Chris, where we outline the recommendations and the questions and the answers, discussed today. And so I believe that DRB will review this project if requested by the zoning examiner.
okay.
So
Um,
if that is the case, then it will come to you for formal review and for recommendation to the zoning examiner.
Okay. Could I ask the minutes from this meeting that we'll review at the next meeting will include this discussion, right? Even though it's a courtesy view, I'm just clarifying for my little mind here. Is that right?
Um,
Are the minutes, are our comments today put in front of the next review committee?
it looks. I'm just checking the legal action report.
Thank you.
May
Yeah,
I
so we'll provide a summary in the LAR, and then I can prepare a supplemental, just outlining the comments, questions, and answers.
All right.
And if I could clarify as a matter of process, this will be required to go to a design review board hearing where a motion would be required. That is
Okay.
part of the UDC code.
Thank
This is
you.
a courtesy review at the request of the CDRC. And so we hope to incorporate your suggestions and comments into something that would be more approvable in your lives.
Thank you. Yes, I hope so too.
And just as another matter of informational, we do have a neighborhood meeting scheduled for October 29th at the Ward 6 main room. It'll be from 6 to 7:30 p.m. And one day before that, we will be meeting to provide information to Councilmember Ulick on this project.
Is there going to be a virtual component to that meeting?
No, there will not. It'll be an open house format.
Okay. Yeah, I won't be able to attend. I've got a trip to Hawaii planned for that week.
Oh,
Bummer.
nice.
Very nice.
Nice.
And just while I have this this committee and Gabriel and Maria, you know, I post COVID things are weird. They used to be all virtual. Now some things are hybrid. I'm on the planning commission, and that is now a hybrid situation. Is there any sort of guidance on these types of neighborhood meetings? Should
Nah,
they be
in-person's
virtual?
fine.
Should they be? Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
mean, if it's practical and an applicant, you know, wants to do so, they're able, right? But there's no rule saying you have to, right? And depending on the neighborhood, sometimes it's not appropriate, right? Like, you know, the demographics, the age demographics of a community can impact.
Yeah, and you know, based on the demographics of this neighborhood, I'm going to say probably maybe 90% are rental properties. So the invitations themselves went to their owners, likely elsewhere. So, you know, we have it on our website, and we have sent a direct invitation to Housing Community Development so they can provide it to their tenants. But generally speaking, rental properties don't often get the invitation. It just goes to the owners, who tend not to have the same amount of involvement in public meetings.
Do you post flyers or information around the neighborhood?
For the neighborhood meeting, no, that's not typically required. For the public hearing, for the zoning examiner, there will be a posting on both Alvernon and Mabel.
Yeah, not a you thing, but that's an interesting sort of process issue,
Mhm.
I would say, regarding the rentals. I had a quick question for you while we have you, and this isn't necessarily purview related, but you said they're coming up underground farther east on Maple. How far east are you going?
Actually, this is a perfect map to see it. They come up at Sycamore. You can actually see the shadow of a large pole right kind of just to the, yep, right there where the cursor is. That is a riser pole, and then there's a few other risers in the area, I believe.
So you're going to have to trench down the whole block?
No, that is all existing.
Oh, cool.
To my understanding, that's existing. So right now in center of Mabel, center line of Mabel, or somewhere along Mabel, there is two underground 46 kilovolt system circuits that go into the substation.
Since this is a courtesy review, is there anything that you were hoping we would touch on or specific questions that we haven't addressed?
Honestly, the feedback on the landscaping is very much appreciated and understandable. I can definitely I hear loud and clear the sentiment towards trees, and the pointing out that the density of shrubbery in that area could become a nuisance for hiding. That is, I don't think that's something that we specifically thought of, so that's a good thing to bring up, and I'm happy that came up out of this. With respect to the mural, there is a TEP policy in place that does not allow murals on our walls. Again, it's a long-term maintenance issue. There's people climbing up onto ladders to paint the walls that gets, you know, close to energized equipment. There's several reasons, but also long-term maintenance is one of them. And so that is just a decision that's well above my pay grade. We do and will be presenting at the neighborhood meeting a sun shade study. So understanding the impacts of the 12-foot wall on the adjacent neighboring affordable housing. So we have an understanding of kind of how much sun loss there will be at the various solstices and equinoxes, so four dates out of the year that were analyzed. And that will be presented to the neighborhood meeting as well as to the zoning examiner and to you all if you'd like to see it.
Could I ask, are they required to meet 50% shade, or are they, is that part of the variance that they're asking for? or
That I'm not sure.
special. Yeah, we should check into that because that
I
would be
can't imagine that a 50% shade requirement would be feasible because
for sidewalks,
for sidewalks.
on sidewalks. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And Ms. Clements, members of the DRB, in the agenda, and let me share it right now. I don't know what the development standards are for the, out of the top of my head,
Right,
for
right.
the special exception, but here's the purview, the DRB's purview for the review.
It says landscaping.
Mhm.
In the other ones, does it specifically say shade studies, or is shade studies included in landscaping? I can't remember, Maria.
Well, the key words that I see here at the end of the purview is the other contributing design features.
Okay.
So, you know, the DRB can always make a recommendation of the to the zoning examiner, just based on this that I see here, and of course in terms of landscaping.
At the time of the formal review, not
At the
at
time
this.
of,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
not at this point, but you know, you're
Right.
very welcome to express right now any recommendations informally, since this is a courtesy review, and we'll just make sure that to record it and convey it to the applicant.
I think the applicant understands concern for shade. And yeah, our typical standard shade requirement is 50% of the sidewalk area. So I can say that that's what I would be looking for in the actual formal review.
Yeah, the 50% requirements are usually in the Rio Nuevo area. Standards in the UDC and also in other special districts like the Infill Incentive District, the Sunshine Mile, the Main Gate District, the Grand Road Investment District, but I can't recall right now, Ms. Clement, if it's part of the special exception requirements for, you know, utilities.
You know, there are columnar shaped succulents, cacti, that provide good amounts of shade. You might have your landscape architect think about that as well. When ocotillos get big, they provide lovely shade.
There are a handful of cotillos proposed in the plan.
Right. Okay. So your landscape architects from Tucson, right?
I don't actually want to say that. They are subbed out of our
Well, it would
development
behoove you to have
consultant.
someone who's used to doing design for the Sonoran Desert.
Based on the landscape design, they're pretty well aware of that.
Yeah, the plant palette was good, but they also need to understand our sun intensity and why shade is so important. Thank you.
Are you taking any steps, or are you required to take any steps regarding the noise?
Yeah.
So we are required to maintain the decibel level of at property boundary. I believe it's at or below 65 decibels, and that's a nighttime level. So we will keep below that 24 hours. We do have sound. We will be taking sound measurements before and after, but we do not expect to have that be an issue based on the distance from the sound emitting equipment, the walls themselves, and basically just how the sound will dissipate over space.
That
Interesting. Okay.
internal wall is going to contain some of the sound.
Correct. I mean,
Okay.
the acoustics of it will likely bounce it'll hit the wall and bounce in the opposite direction. We're happy to take sound measurements after it's been energized, and if we are above the required minimums or maximums, I should say, we would mitigate at that point.
I would think some block is more sound mitigating, like a split face or something would help with the acoustics.
Yeah, that's something that we understand fully, and we'll make sure our system is below the maximum decibel levels for the nighttime.
Okay, and then I just had one more question. Sorry, I didn't want to prolong this, but the ground finish inside the wall, is that it's like DG or something relatively
Correct.
permeable?
It's DG, yeah. It will be compacted. So I don't know how permeable it will be. It's probably going to be compacted 95% or so with DG on top. But it will be graded to drain all, on-site created flows out.
Into that weep hole on the northeast.
Correct. Yeah, let's see if I can pull that back up. The development plan does show weep holes at the north wall into the drainage channel, and then out at the where it would meter into the stormwater detention basin. Are there any other questions, concerns?
No, I don't have anything else.
No.
Okay. I
Hearing
very much
none,
For
appreciate your
the
time.
courtesy review.
Maria, do we need to formally close this item or just proceed? You're muted.
I'm sorry, just proceed.
Okay,
There's no motion.
cool. So hearing no more discussion, item number 6, staff announcements. Would staff like to make any announcements, or is there anything else I'd like to bring up? Hearing none, members of the board, would you like to proceed to item 7, adjournment?
Yes.
Just very quickly, at the 2 meetings ago, I can't remember the date right now, but Gabriel raised a question about potentially needing motions for opening and closing DRB meetings, and the boards and commission indicated that it's not needed, that basically the meeting starts when the chair calls for, the roll call. And also it's closed when the chair indicates that it's closed. So since we don't have our chair, I'm gonna request one of you to please step forward and indicate to staff if, the meeting is now concluded. It can be adjourned.
Yeah, I'll move that we adjourn the meeting if that's the proper wording.
That is very good.
Great.
Thank you very much. And I'm just noting the time is 9:21. And thank you so much. And Gabriel, don't forget to press the stop in the recording, because there's times that I forget, and then for some reason Teams will not record the recording.
Yeah.
I was hovering over it.